What's going on, everybody? I told you I was going to try to put some of guns or pew-pews or whatever you want to call them on this channel and just see how it works, because this channel is already monetized and hadn't got around to monetizing the gun channel yet, and YouTube has some new rules and they have to click some buttons saying that you have firearms on your channel. So let's just see how this works out. It's easier for me to keep up with the comments this way. We'll see what happens. But I've been thinking about this video for a while, and how I was solely a Glock man for many years. Glock came out in like 1982, hit the streets of the United States in like 1988, and has pretty much been the same old blocky gun ever since. Glock, in my opinion, has relied on their reputation and name to skirt their way through redesigning this iteration of the pistol, because this is the Gen 519 and all these guns have been safety checked. I'm not going to safety check every one of them. I've already done it before I brought them out here. But this little blocky gun pretty much says what Glock is right here and always has been. If anything, this says what Glock has been since day one, because later iterations of this gun had finger grooves, like on the Gen 3 and Gen 4, but the Gen 1s and 2 didn't have finger grooves. And when the Gen 5 come out and they took the finger grooves off, everybody thought that it was this huge, improvement on the Glock, and actually it was just a decade step backwards or two. I mean, it really just went backwards. They just basically put some stippling on the old frame they had, because it's now even a 2-pin gun, just like the Gen 2 was. The Gen 3s and 4s were 3-pin guns, and the Gen 1 and 2s were 2-pin guns. So when they come out with no finger grooves, they actually went back to 2-pin frames as well. So they actually went backwards, but in my opinion, the Gen 5 is probably the best Glock that was ever made. I did not like the finger grooves in these guns. For some odd reason, I thought the Gen 4 finger grooves were a little better than the Gen 3s. They fit my hand a little better, but the Gen 5 is definitely a huge improvement. Really, there was a few other minor improvements, but the biggest aesthetic improvement was the front serrations, and some of the Gen 5s didn't even have that. And I also have a 26 Gen 5 here. Looks just like the 19 I held up, except it's a little smaller. There again, basically the same gun since almost 1982. Just skirting its way through. And I carried a Glock religiously, like this 43X with a Holosun optic and a Streamlight TLR7A sub, that's a mouthful, for many years. And it's still a good gun. I am not saying Glock is not a good gun. Glock is one of the most reliable guns on the market. But there have been big improvements in other manufacturers' firearms, and I feel like other manufacturers are now just as reliable as Glocks are. But where Glock has not been changing that blocky look, you now have companies like CZ, which this pistol has been out for many years, but they have this more ergonomic. When you put the CZ in your hand, it feels amazing. The ergonomics on this gun is great, and you can change the triggers just like in Glocks. You can change the sights just like in Glocks. You can add lights just like in Glocks. I've actually been testing a holster from Civilian Tactical for a few, weeks now with this gun. This was the gun I requested that holster for, the appendix holster. I didn't have an appendix holster for this, and but this one a lot of times will actually fit your Glock 19 holsters even. They even have, if you think that's too big, they have a P10S subcompact, which in my opinion is way more ergonomic than the Glock 26. And it has more rounds. The Glock 26 is a 10 rounder. The P10S is a 12 rounder. So you even get more mags. This gun is more pointable when it comes up than a Glock. A lot of people, when they buy Glocks and they present it, the sights will be off one way or the other because these grips just aren't ergonomic. Now, if you've been shooting these for years, you have adjusted that, you don't have that problem. But as a new shooter, if they pick this gun up and they throw it up, now for me, I've shot Glock for many years, it was right there, but a lot of times it will be off one side or the other. Whereas guns as the P10S with a more ergonomic grip that fits in your hand a little better, that sight is just closer to being where it needs to be when you present it to the ready. Now, again, blocky. There are so many guns on this table that have, in my opinion, have become better options. I carry a 365, not the XL. A lot of people say I should carry the XL because I carry the TLR7A sub light, which sticks out, and I've actually thought about doing that. But this gun is way more ergonomic than the Glocks, in my opinion. It's way more ergonomic than this gun. This gun, now a lot of people's gonna say you can get the Shield Arms mags. I'll let you know, I have 6 of those. I have 3 that are 15 rounders, and I have 3 that are 20 rounders, and not a one of them will run in this gun. And yes, I did change the magazine release when I was running those magazines. You can even see I have the Shield Arms mag well still on the gun. I do like that mag well. That mag well is pretty amazing. And I left it on the gun, but none of my Shield Arms mags, and they are Gen 2s, will run in this firearm or my 48. But this is also a 10 rounder, but it is way more compact. But I want to show you something here in just a minute. So hang with me. If I put these guns side to side, look how much more sticks out the front, how much more sticks out the bottom. 10 rounds, 10 rounds, 12 rounds. I don't carry this with a 10 rounder. SIG makes 12 round magazines that flush, well, don't flush fit, but actually fit up with the bottom of the grip. Makes this gun feel amazing in your hand. And I carry a factory SIG 15 rounder for a backup. Now, with a 12 rounder in it and no magazine in the Glock, you can still see that the SIG is still a little shorter. 12 rounds shorter. So you have less of a chance to print with this gun than you do this gun with less rounds in it. And I've never had a failure out of this. Now you're gonna be saying, that don't look like a SIG 365. This is actually a Zev 365. I don't like the way SIG does their 365s on most of them, where you have to remove the rear sight to put on an optic. So I actually have a video on my other channel where I put this gun together. I actually built this whole gun custom with a Steady Grind Designs stippled grip. But I put this whole thing together and did it exactly what I wanted it, and now I can retain my night vision sights, which is their optic height sights, with my Holosun 507K. And this is what I carry most of the time because it's a smaller package. It just melts away. You don't even realize you even are carrying this most of the time. Again, maybe I should go with the XL to get the longer barrel to just kind of flush fit up with this, but for now, this is what I carry. But in my opinion, it is a much better option than this. This is a way bigger platform of a gun, even though it's a single stack and it's their subcompact of the most subcompact they make other than the 43 and 9mm. But the 43 is only like 6 or 7 rounds. So this is the closest thing you can get to the SIG 365. Blocky, huge. And the reason it has to be that big is Glock stays with these polymer magazines that are steel lined. If they would go with a metal magazine, they could get it more down to this size and get that many rounds in it. But Glock likes the polymer mags for some odd reason. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But in my opinion, they're getting left way behind by companies like SIG, who are using metal mags and are beating them in mag capacity and overall size and weight for that matter. Next, if you like a larger gun, such as the 19, you have a plethora of options. You could use like this Zev Custom P320 X Compact, which feels amazing in the hand, and yet again is essentially the same identical size as the Glock, except you get, the same mag capacity, 15. I also have 21 rounders that fit this. And I know you're going to say you can get, 33 rounders for Glock, and you can, but that's unrealistic to carry. The 21 rounders are, like an extended magazine, and they're actually factory magazines that do 21 rounds in these guns. you can put an optic on it, which you can put an optic on these, but this optic with the Zev slide actually mounts straight to the slide. I didn't need any plates, such as the crappy plates that come with the MOS versions that usually break and you have to buy like a CHPWS plate anyway. But this gun is just more ergonomic, and you don't have to go with the Zev. You can go with a regular P320. I just went with the Zev. But in my opinion, this is a better gun. A lot of people are going to say, hey, that thing will go off, and with just sitting there looking at it, and I own a lot of P320s, and mine's never done that. Not saying they could never do that, but mine has never done that, and I have carried this gun quite a bit. All right, next, if you want something, you know, way ergonomic, go with like a Walther PDP. These things are already set up with the plates, and the new plates are even better than these. I have the old version where it didn't have the raised spots in it for the optic. Not saying this is ever going to come off, but there's been a lot of talk about that. The newer ones are even better. This has a way better trigger than this does. So does this. This trigger is amazing. This trigger is amazing. This one feels like it's got some sand in it. But the PDP, I mean, that trigger is just crazy. This gun is crazy ergonomic. It's probably second or third most ergonomic gun I've ever held in my hand, next to the HK VP9, which is also amazing because you can even change the back straps and the side straps on this and fit it perfectly to your hand. You're going to say, hey, this is more the size of a Glock 17, and you're right, it is closer to that, but they do make a subcompact version of this that is smaller and probably closer to the size of the CZ P10S. I just do not have one of those, but this gun shoots amazing. They also make it in an optics ready. A gun I just picked up that is even more ergonomic than the Glock, but does not look it probably, or looks close to it, is the FM 509 Tactical. When I throw this gun up, I've yet to bring this gun up to the ready and the sights not being exactly where they need to be. This could highly possibly be my next carry gun because I've never picked up a firearm that is this pointable, I guess that's a word, that the sights are just right there. I don't know if I will carry this one or if I'll buy like the more subcompact version with the smaller grip. I would have to kind of fondle it and see if the sights are the same way as this one. But every time I present this gun, those sights are immediately lined up. Way more ergonomic than this. This just feels like you have a block in your hand. What I'm trying to say here is, all these guns on the table, all of them, even this CZ P01, which is a heavier gun, but is still way more ergonomic, are ergonomic than the Glock. Glock is being left behind. They cornered the market in the 80s and the 90s. Nobody could compete with them. Other manufacturers that were getting left behind were forced to be innovative to actually redesign their guns, come up with polymer guns that are lighter and more ergonomic to compete with Glock. Glock feels, in my opinion, that the only person Glock has to compete with is Glock. Whereas all these other manufacturers feels like they have to compete with all the other manufacturers plus Glock. So they are striving to produce a more ergonomic, better trigger pull, better pistol, more reliable, stuff like that along the way. Whereas Glock just feels like it has to compete with itself, in my opinion. Glock needs to wake up because these other companies are starting to leave them behind. I cannot remember the last time that I carried a Glock handgun that was not a Glock 42. If I pocket carry, a Glock 42 is probably the smallest handgun I would feel comfortable carrying. So if I pocket carry, I carry that just because that's the only 380 I've got. I'm not saying there's not better 380s. That's just what I got, and I don't really like the 380 round a whole lot, so I'm not going to buy a bunch of 380s. I'm going to keep the Glock. But I cannot remember the last time I carried a Glock handgun over this or this or this. They just kind of sit in the safe. Now, I'm not getting rid of them. I feel like they're good guns. They are very good guns. They're very reliable. but they're getting left behind, and they don't seem to have the sense of urgency they need to catch up. When that market share eventually goes way down, they'll be forced to, but I don't know what they're going to come up with when this was their newest design and it actually went backwards instead of forward. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you agree with my assessment of Glock handguns? I'm not saying they're not good guns. They're great guns. But they're getting left in the past, whereas everyone else is starting to surpass them. I appreciate you watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. I love you guys. Let me know if you want to see content like this on this channel, because I can certainly do lots of that. Appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time.